don't know if you can.
This is what she did with the exact same thing that I was showing. So here's what I've got for the male and female. We've got for males and females, you know, if it's male, they're going to write my woman. If it's a female, my man, or vice versa, however, whatever you float with is what I'm just going to use there, because I've come to realize I talk to people of all different likes and loves and everything in between. Now, the natural is generally woman for a man, man for a woman, and that was in the beginnings of how it was created. However, as time has progressed, people have a desire and they love from their heart, and they can't control who they love and where that goes, because love is love, and that's just the end of the story. Doesn't matter, you know, whether or not it's, people put way too many labels and decisions upon it. So I want everybody to know it's a safe place when they talk to me, no matter what you desire and what you want in your life. People just need to know that they have a safe place. Being the fact that I have a son who is who has identified mostly as a female his whole life, I had to learn how to open up that space for others, because he could not. And he was like, I'm a girl. Inside here in my heart, I'm a girl. He identifies with his divine feminine. He's been around a lot of feminines his life. So that's what he identified with the most. And that was what he could understand. And some of his own wounds and stuff in life made him go down a path that he's not so certain about now. And now he's expanding and broadening his horizons. So I always allowed him for the room for growth and development. And because of that, it has now allowed him to expand and explore all areas of his life, so he really knows what he wants and not feel condemned to one thing or another. And that's the one thing I think everybody needs more of, is acceptance and love. Because when we don't receive those things, it's generally those things that cause us to break down. So how do we reignite that? How do we reignite that space of desire and magnetism of ourselves and what we want? It's by actually identifying the things that we need. So if we are taking that time, Shayna, you said it so well just a little bit ago, that you're now finally taking that room for yourself and identifying what you need. And that's really what I have written in my whole thing for the Art of Learning Self-Love. Is one of the things we do is identify. When I was seeking outside of me for love, I was looking for love in all the wrong places. I'm going to use that coined song because of the fact that phrase means so much to me. I truly was. I mean, I was looking for others to literally meet me, what I needed most. And the sad part was I was like, why can't they just meet me? Why? Because I didn't know what I wanted. How can anybody meet me when I don't know what I want? And it's ever changing. So like I was saying last week in class, I was talking about, if you want flowers, you got to be the one that buys those flowers. Because somebody else coming into your life isn't going to know that you want flowers if there's never a set of flowers on the table. You know, how does that person coming in know that what you need is quiet time once a day to go sing a song or 2 or 5 or whatever you need, because that's your self-expression, if you don't earmark a time that says, hey, you know what, during this time, I'm really not available because I'm doing something for me. Because I matter. How can you convince someone else you matter if you don't matter to yourself? And that was what I had to come to realize. I was like, how can I expect another soul to ever know what I want or how to make room for me if I didn't know how to make room for myself? And we're that important. The work doesn't start outside of us, it starts within us. So it's not selfishness. It's actually beginning to develop the idea of who you are so that you can convey that to another. And it doesn't even have to be with words, it just becomes action. Because when you do it every day, you're now living the action. And when you're living in action, everyone else takes action with you. They're not able to stand on the sidelines and wait and phone it in on your relationship because, oh, well, now I know. Oh, here, let me give you some pretty words now. Oh, let me give you a card. Maybe that'll make up the difference. When it doesn't, but you have to begin living it yourself, identifying what it is that you need, what you want. So for myself, I needed someone who was adventurous because I write about adventure. I do things about adventure. Everything about my life is a grand adventure. I'm on the adventure. So I need somebody who's willing to take up and do the adventure with me. Where are we going next? Are we jumping in the rabbit hole? Where are we going? What are we doing? I had to have that in my relationship. I had to have someone who was on the edge of ready to do anything because that's who I am. And I had to identify that. I had to identify that I am the grand adventurer. So I needed an adventurer. I needed someone who was willing to take the adventure, see where it goes. But I also needed someone who was stability, with stability for themselves. Somebody that could truly, if whether or not I'm here or not, can still maintain the space, maintain what's necessary, and then I'm going to equally match or surpass what they're doing. Because that's what's important, because each person has to come in and, it's a collaboration between two coming together. So the two need to be able to contribute and be able to hold their own. Yes, there's going to be moments where we lean on the other, but it doesn't need to be that way all the time, where one is solely leaning on one. Because then when two parties are coming together equally and contributing, what's happening there then is there's no room for anybody else to say, what are you doing? You're not creating, I'm creating all of this. So you have to come in and have an agreement, because some relationships require someone to be home while someone else is out because of kids, because of this, because of that. But there needs to be a good communication skill between the two so everyone knows how to meet the other party's needs. Okay, so because of this lack here, because in a relationship, here's the number one thing I want to share with you. There are three components, okay, to a relationship. Those three components are communication, finances, and sexuality. These three are the bearings to every relationship. Now, when you couple two of these, you can be completely content in your relationship. If you can get all three of these, you're absolutely successful. Generally, it's when you're only functioning in one or none that everything collapses. So if you have the finances to hold your life together and everybody's content, you can buy the foods that are necessary. You might not need the luxuries, but you have the needs. If you have your basics, there's no tension. So you guys can function and flow without any extra finances because you've got good communication and you got great sex. I mean, who can go wrong with that? But so you may not need the finances and be completely content. Or you might have great finances and great sex and don't need to talk because you come together, everything's great, finances are done, and you're both off doing your own thing. But if you have great communication, sometimes that alone is enough because you can work through not having enough finances because you can hear each other and speak to each other and know that each other are okay. You may not need the sex because maybe there's something that happened and you both grew older and you might not be able to perform. But the sex isn't necessary because the communication is there. I mean, we have to look at all aspects of life. As you're growing older, there are going to be things that happen. The libido changes. You may or may not have the same drive you had when you met. But if you have good finances and good communication, the sex doesn't matter anymore because you both know you have the safety and security of running to each other. So when you look at the dynamics of all three, they're all necessary, yes, but they're not an obligation. But how do you, when you come together with someone else, what parts of it is coupling so that you guys can stand solid in what you have or what you're building? So just remember, when one area is waning low, why? Is it because finances are tight, because the world is imploding on itself, because of natural disasters and other things that are happening, and we can't do a damn thing about it? Oops. I cussed on my own show. But, here we are, when it's about identifying. So if you need somebody that, and you're looking for financial stability, the last place you need to look for it is somebody else, because somebody else can always let you down. If you're looking for financial stability, you need to be looking to yourself. Because when you're building your own financial structure, there's nobody else that can come in and destroy that unless you give it away. And that's learning your proper boundary so that you're not. If it's in relationship to communication, you got to know how to communicate what you want, what you need. So how do you do that? You begin by identifying, what is it that I need? Well, I need someone, like I was saying at the beginning, that's adventurous. I needed someone who was financially able to handle their own, with or without me. So if I moved out the door, I know that they're still going to be able to maintain their own space, handle their own life. And yeah, it's going to hurt, but they're going to be able to hold themselves up and maintain what they got. They don't need me to do that. It should be two people coming together because they want to be together, not because they need to be together. That's the difference. When we come into a relationship that's healthy, wealthy, and wise, it's because you've actually identified what you needed in yourself. Does anybody have any questions yet?
No, but I could see this being applicable, like that circle plus all the spokes on it. I could see that being used not just for relationships, though. I could see that being
everything.
Goals or dreams or
It is.
visions. I mean, so many things. So this is a beautiful exercise. Well done, Darla.
Thank you. Thank you. This was something I had to do for myself. I literally found that for myself, what I needed was someone that was creative, musical, artistic, fun, just in the arena of creative arts. I needed somebody that was about growth and development because I was growing and developing. So I needed somebody who could recognize that and understand that and wanted to go on that journey with me, because we needed to both understand that we're going to be ever changing for the rest of our life. Because when somebody goes, oh yeah, I'm working on these little things about myself, but I really don't plan to stay here forever. Well, they don't plan to ever continue changing. So whenever they decide to stop, they're basically choosing to die. They're going to stop off there and just wean out. That's not what life's about. It's about the ever changing. It's about the fact that we are change and we are choice and we are able to make a life of anything that we want. So because of that, we literally are able to design it our own way based out of ourselves. So if you could at any point in this session, if you could identify the most needed space in your life, in your relations with a spouse or a partner or a couple, whoever you've coupled with, what is the first primary thing that you need? Tim, thank you and welcome. Go ahead.
Blessings, everyone.
Blessings.
Go ahead, Matthew. What were you going to say?
For me, my wife knows because we communicate together a lot, but I need my alone time, like my space, like to meditate or to just kind of go drive or just have that alone time, because I need to, that's how I function best, is if I get some of that throughout the week, I will come back in a higher, stronger form every time. So it's like something that she knew right from the get-go, though, because we've always been really, she was one of my best friends before we got married. So it was just pretty easy for us to kind of start start to communicate that. And for her, I've had to help her develop her own spaces like that, because she did not take time for herself ever until we got together and started to function as a couple.
Wow.
Because
How
she's been a
amazing.
mom since she was 16. So
And life sort of
life,
created a space that
yeah,
did not allow her to even know she was important. She was
exactly.
she was
Exactly.
focused on everyone else.
Always was, always is, really. Still, it's still a work in progress for her, but we embrace change. So that helps.
That's awesome. And the fact that you hold that space for her, knowing that and give her that, I mean, that's really a beautiful thing in your relationship. And I hope that she really does appreciate it. If she doesn't, one day she will. She'll be like, oh my gosh, you have no idea how much that means. When
Yeah.
she finally catches on to it, if she doesn't already.
She's a beautiful human. She knows. She's so smart.
Can you teach Eric that?
Get them in. Sign them up.
No, I'm like laughing because I'm just like, that's all I ever feel like is like I don't have any time for myself, you know. But he feels the same way, so it's just, you know, one of those things that you got to work out, I guess.
Well, one of those ways is she gets a massage every month. So I bring her to the massage place, and then she's alone doing her thing in there. You know, that's one space that she gets to be by herself. No kids, no husband, no anything besides the masseuse, and she gets along with her masseuse. So it works out well. So
Yeah.
that's one way, but you have to find your own ways that works.
That's perfect. Right there, I'm going to pick up with what he just said. You have to find your own. It is not a dependency upon somebody else to create that space for you. It really begins with yourself. And maybe she might have at some point mentioned maybe she needed that time, and that he made sure that that got put forth. You know, here she was the idea, and here he was the doer, the masculine, and he went and provided the space. Now go do. You know, I mean, and that just sounds so primitive, but it's truth. The feminine is the creator. She's the idealist, while the masculine is the doer. While we have these same qualities within us, in our relationships and the dynamics of our relationship, we become one, and then the other becomes the other, and then there's another dynamic to it. So now not only are we checking in with our own divine masculine and feminine, we're checking in with our divine whatever the opposite party is, and working through the details as well, because now we're coupling and building this world that's flowing together. And that's what you want. You don't want a whole bunch of rifts where you're bumping into each other every day, because that hurts. It hurts us emotionally. It hurts us mentally. So what we got to do is come into that perfect flow where we're coming in and just grazing each other, you know, just touching. Hey, everything's good. Everything's flowing. It's like the cogs of the watch, you know, the little, you know, spindles and all the different little features that are going on. That's how the inner working of a relationship is supposed to be. So identifying what are the 5 types of things that, you know, that are out there for everyone. There are 5 different types that we're either encouragers. We either like to spend quality time, we like physical touch, we like gifts of giving, or we like to receive gifts from giving, or we are about the acts of service. A lot of men love, because they're doers, to go do something for the other. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, honey, did you notice I fixed the sink? And we're probably sitting there like, yeah, thanks. That's wonderful. It may not be our love language, but it might be theirs. Expressing to someone else, hey, you know what? I went and I did this for you because I love you, because I care. And we might not be able to hear them speaking their love language. So we got to watch for the different things that each of us are doing. So if mine is about, I need encouragement because I give it out all day, So that's all I can use as a reference as my own. I'm about quality time and, physical touch. If I get a gift, that's great, but I don't need it. If somebody wants to do an act of service for me, it actually makes me uncomfortable because I'm used to doing things for myself. I'm a very independent person, so it makes me uncomfortable when somebody wants to come and do something for me. I'm like, whoa, 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 you're getting my stuff. Let me do it. And it's not because I don't care that they want to be there. I just don't know how to receive that because it's not an area that I got a lot of that in. So it's one of those things that somebody's got to be more gentle with to say, hey, I want to step in and help you. And then I can, because that for me, when it's coming to an act of service, it's generally somebody doing something that I would have normally done to alleviate some pressure off of me. Well, that pressure is what I use to fuel myself. So don't take it away. For me, it's like taking something away and it's like, don't do that, but they don't understand that's just mine. So I have to be able to articulate that and say, you know what, really don't need that area filled, but you know what, if you could come in and say something like this, when you see that I'm running a little low, or I seem to be a little off, kilter today, I may need some encouragement. I may need somebody to wrap themselves around me for a second because I need the physical touch and just tell me that I'm doing a great job, because I didn't get that for so long and I just gave it and gave it and gave it until I began receiving it. So that would be my area of communication, of stating to someone, talking to Joe and saying, you know what, if you want to make sure I'm taken care of, make sure that you are the encourager, telling me, showing me by these little things, by stating, by picking up the cute little cards to remind me how wonderful I am, the words that are there that I can actually go back to when I'm feeling low. So I don't have to wait for him to say it. I can actually go back and go, you know what? So thankful to have started this adventure with you. It's been an amazing journey thus far. Love you, babe. So knowing he wrote that, he meant those words, he truly still feels those things. He may just be so darn busy, he doesn't have time to come tell me that because he's off at robotics with his kid. And I might be feeling low. And honey, this is not about being in a relationship. It's about building one. How do you learn the facets to begin building one? This is for you too. This is for everyone with or without a relationship. This is how I got to have the relationship I'm in now, because I did this work to get here. So if you got to go, I understand, but I just wanted you to know if you were leaving because of the content, this content's really, really important to building a relationship, because it's about learning how to communicate with those people who choose one. Dr. Kim, go ahead.
And Darla, it's really about our relationship with ourselves first and foremost. Being willing to give ourselves the time and space that we need, being willing to honor our differences. And as we change in life, we need different things. And being willing to say, am I building my relationship with myself and with life as I'm building a relationship with a partner or not? I'm not dating anyone at the moment. So I see relevance all the way around.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that piece because some of us are single and not dating.
Well, this was the whole purpose of this. Before you came in, Kim, was expressing the fact that this is beginning to identify the things that you need. So how do you, when you're identifying those things, how do you begin learning what it is that you need so that you can identify it? So it comes down to the inner relations. Relations is how we begin identifying. If I need to, the 5 types of things that I was going over was the encouragement, quality time, physical touch, gifts, gift giving and receiving, and acts of service. If I can't personally identify what these things are in my life that I need, how can I ever articulate that to my partner? if I'm going to have one. If I don't know it, how many times did I have an argument with someone is, why can't you just meet my needs? I have needs and you're not meeting me. But it was because I couldn't tell them what I needed. It was, and they were going, well, I went and I washed the car for you. Wasn't that good enough? It wasn't, because it wasn't my love language. Washing the car for me, the car could be filthy. I don't care. The car is the car. It's just going to get me someplace. But that's not truth. As I learned and developed myself, I actually began learning. Sorry, I had a pop-up that came up on my screen that distracted me. But those were the parts for me that I had to begin identifying, was being able to know what I needed so that I could articulate it. And go ahead.
I'm kind of, I want to address what Lorraine said, so Lorraine can decide if she wants to stay or go. But this whole love language thing until today, so I really thank you for this conversation. I've thought of my love language in the context of, what do I need with a partner? And how do I communicate to my partner my love language? What this conversation is having me see, and I apologize, I came in late and I may be so off base, so tell me if I am. My love language is relevant to my relationship with myself.
Yes.
So if my love language is appreciation, then I need to spend extra time appreciating myself. If my love language is receiving gifts, then I need to be the one who gives myself gifts, not waiting for anybody else to give me gifts.
Yes.
And I can see now through this lens that I haven't paid attention to that. I haven't said, okay, Kim, what is your love language and how does it apply to your own self-care? How does it apply to how you want to nurture yourself, bring yourself happiness and joy? So thank you for this. I really appreciate it. And I do apologize for jumping in late and maybe taking us off course.
You came right in and landed right where you needed to. And that's what this was about, was identifying what it is that you need. When we are learning to love ourselves in the art of learning self-love, what are we doing? We're building ourselves from the ground up. We're creating a foundation so that we're unshakable. That means no matter whether or not a person comes into my life and I'm sharing that life with them and everything's great, but I'm still just as solid if they choose that they need to move on to do something different. That's where we are lacking in relationship, is our own stability, so that we are okay with, okay without the partner. And getting to that place that we're so solid within ourselves and so self-secure that it doesn't uproot us and cause us to come into complete devastation and trauma because somebody left us. You know what? Just because in the path of life, they may be there for a season. They may be there for a reason. They may be a lifer. We don't know yet. But whatever it is, we need to be so secure in our own knowledge of ourselves that whether or not they choose today to upset the kettle, it's okay, because they can go off, because we're still going to flow and function because we know what we need and we know what we want. So regardless of whether or not this one is here doing this or not, we're still confident, secure, and full going out into our world. So the person, like I said in the beginning, is we don't want somebody there that we need. We want somebody there that we want. Because that wanting is going to continue to grow and develop the relationship. It's when we become dependent and a need for that, the other person starts to feel a stress upon them, that they are now the necessity. Yeah, they're now necessary for our function. And that's not what it's about. A relationship is two people blending their worlds and enjoying the blend. If you're blending and it's out of sorts and it doesn't feel good, why are you there? It's supposed to be an enjoyable experience.
Should be for yourself as well.
And that's exactly, it should be for yourself as well. And if you're not feeling that, okay, so if something has come in, I'm not saying you're not going to have little hiccups in your relationship where you're not going to have something that happens that makes you expand, that makes you explore a little bit, to ruffle your feathers a little, to change the atmosphere so that you can actually expand yourself, because that party is supposed to be able to do that, to come in and help in a healthy manner, point out some things to help you grow, because they are there to help you grow. Every connection we have is there to help us grow. So, there are going to be moments where we have to look at it and go, but if I already know that for myself, that I have this process and I need to do all these things, and somebody else is looking at it going, Darla, why do you have to write all these boards? Why are you doing all this stuff? It's not because they're asking me to not do it. They're asking me because they need to understand what my process is, because it's different than theirs. And they may be seeing something that they need, or they're going, what about this instead? And that allows me the space and the growth so that I can grow and maybe change a little bit about what I'm doing too. That's what our party is for. When we have the two working together, they're there to help us grow, to help us level up. They're not supposed to be there to keep us suppressed and bring us down. They're there to help us continue moving ahead, or growing and flowing together in a perfect harmony. So that's where we can make the adjustments and go, is this helping me? How am I doing this to myself? How am I doing this to others? And how am I doing this to my very soul? So when we're seeing something in someone else and it's going, oh, I don't like when they do this. I mean, it's every relationship. We have a moment whether somebody will do something that may trigger us or cause us to think something or make us feel a certain way. Instead of going straight to the defense, the court hearing and the accusations, instead of running there, why don't we stop and go, how am I doing this to myself? How am I doing this to others? And how am I doing this to my soul? And when we start asking ourselves these questions, what we're actually beginning to do is going, oh, well, you know what? When you kick the pot across the room, that made me scared because at some point in my life, I thought blah, 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 because somebody did hurt me at some point. So just because somebody else has a reaction to something doesn't mean that reaction is at me. They may be mad because it dropped on their damn toe and it's pissed them off, so they kicked it across the room, and I just happened to be in the space and thinking, oh my God, they just kicked that at me. No, they were not doing any of that. They were just mad in the moment. They had a moment. These are actual moments that happen in everybody's life, and it can be perceived as one thing or turned into something else. It can be an actual legitimate pain. Take a second to assess yourself before reacting. Begin your looking at it. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I totally interrupted. I apologize. I was going to say, this reminds me of Byron Kate's, is that the truth, or is this the truth right now? Like kicking a pot, for instance, is it the truth that this person's mad or upset with me, or is this the truth, or what is the truth essentially, or what is the real truth here? And that's helped me facilitate some of communication as well.
Thank you for sharing that. I have no problems if you all have interjections and things that come up that you want us to talk about, because that's what this is about, is bringing that masterminding party to this, element, so that everyone has an opportunity to share and grow. So I appreciate it. So just like a hand up, hey, here I am, I'm ready to speak. Please speak forth into the space, because that's how we all grow from learning from one another, because we are connected. So, but, so if you were to really take an account to yourself in regards to the types of love languages out there, who here would recognize themselves as being an act of service?
That's how I would definitely show my love to somebody else. Definitely.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. That's how I show love.
Who here is a gift giver? Like, nope, 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 nope. Okay. Who here is about physical touch that needs somebody to make sure that they make contact? Who here is about quality time?
Yes.
And what about it?
Me.
And what about encouragement? Who needs to hear from others that I'm an encourager. I have to have encouragement. That's one of my biggest, that's like number one. Make sure you encourage. And not just me, but the world at large. Yeah. And as you guys can see with Joe, he's an encourager. He's always feeding people those encouraging words, knowing that they can do anything, and he believes in them. But he still at the same time, like myself, needs an encourager, and that's what I give all day long. So he needs it just as much as I need it. We're both people who need encouragement. The quality time as well and the physical touch is for me. For myself, I'm a physical touch person. I need to know that somebody's there. They need to reach over and touch me. And it doesn't matter if it's literally just touching my head, hey, I'm here. It doesn't matter as long as I have that connection.
I
So
discovered one of my love languages by watching myself. What do I do with others? So I'm a big encourager and I give a lot of positive feedback. I'm a professor, so my students really appreciate it. And to people in my life, I give a lot of encouragement. And I notice sometimes I say, how come I'm not getting it back? Like I want what I'm giving out. And I kind of, my brother and I are rehabbing a house together and he's telling all the guys they're doing a great job. And one day I said to him, the girls need a little feedback too. And I was like, yeah, tell me I'm doing a great job, even though we're in this together. I want to know that you're pleased with our progress. And so I just offer that. Sometimes we give out what we really want and we need to make it clear what we need.
and this
I'm
is
getting
like,
better at asking for it.
it's coming into that spaces of recognizing and identifying. That's the whole true purpose of being able to list all the different things. If you're trying to create the magnetism to draw into you what you really want, how do you know what goes on these lines until you begin identifying? So knowing that, okay, so in relationships, what do we have? We have whether or not someone is receiving what they need through communication, sexuality, finances. The first three basics to every relationship. When you couple those things, you can hold a good, solid relationship. But when you stop and you look at the different types of language in love and life, love of relations. So I can have a relationship with the bus driver that I'm getting on the bus with. I'm going to talk to them. Hi, how are you? That's a relation. Hey, okay, it costs $1.25 to drop that money in the bus and keep. That's how long ago it's been since I've ridden a bus. I don't know what it costs today. It was cost $1.25 last time I rode a bus. So I threw that money in there and I had a relationship for a moment with that bus driver. I was standing there and I was speaking, to that's a relationship. Now, how much energy goes into those short-lived relationships? Not a whole lot, but enough to get you where you're going, obviously. But the same energy goes in when it comes down to your basic relationships all the way around. So you've got to know that if it's just going to be a quick meeting, you just need to be present to hear what is going to be answered when you're asking the question. The same thing goes into your relationships when it comes down to the deeper level. Are you just spitting words because you want somebody to hear you? Or Are you coming fully engaged where you're both your ears are open and hearing them as well as expressing what you need to express? So, and that comes to relationships in, intimate relationships, but it comes to relationships with your boss. It comes to relations with your coworkers. It comes to relations with every inner relation around the world, no matter what it is, no matter how it comes together. There's those two components. It's coming with what you need to, but also being willing and engaging to the place where you can actually open up and hear what they're saying too. A lot of us, most of the time, are only in the space of, from our experience, are coming from, this triggered me, here's what's happening. And now my ears are shut off because all I have is a voice and you're going to hear it. And this is how we all react. It's not just one person type. Everybody reacts this way when we've been wounded, when we've had a situation. And in the inner relationships, with someone, this stuff comes up a lot. How are we gauging it? And when are we literally pulling ourselves back for just a moment and asking those three questions? How am I doing this to myself? How am I doing this to others? And how am I doing this to my very soul? And when we start asking those questions, it allows us that space that allows us to now engage, because now we can answer those questions and go, oh, well, I'm doing this to myself by repeating the same patterns, knowing that there's not going to be the same thing. Been there, done that many times. Kept trying the same thing over and over. Albert Einstein said it best. You keep trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different results. That's the ultimate definition of insanity. I've been insane. I don't know how many times, but I've been insane. But we all have. We've all tried to repeat the same things because it's called a pattern. It's because it's all we've learned. And how do we shift out of that? By beginning to identify the things that we need so that we can properly articulate it to our partners in life, no matter where they're at, no matter what they're doing, coming into that space so we know us. And when we know us, they can too. And if they're not willing to meet those things, because it might not be in their character, may not be in their dynamics of how they're made up, we can then recognize, this is how I'm doing this to myself. I keep putting myself in the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I'm never going to get it because they're not capable of doing that. This isn't my person. This was my lesson so I could learn it and get up and move on from it. But respectfully, because we're learning. Yes, ma'am. Mute. There you go.
I wanted to read something to you guys. I wrote this well, I didn't write this. I copied it from something else. And I saw it the other day, but this was March 6, 2016. We have the power to decide what we deserve in life. We have the power to let ourselves have it. Even if other people say we don't deserve it, we must stop thinking in terms of deserve or not deserve. When we don't make demands on the world to give us what we think we deserve, we will find ourselves less disappointed. I'd rather create what I want in life than demand the world give me things. The former puts the power into my own hands. The latter strips it away and puts me at the mercy of the world.
Ah, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Where was that written?
I don't remember. I've looked for that forever. I wrote it in my journal, but like it really resonated with me at the time. You know what I mean? And it just kind of came back up like
That
recently.
is beautiful.
Thank you.
Catherine, if you send that to me, I'll find the source. I'm a researcher.
Okay,
So I'll find the source, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. So I have a question. Does anyone today have anything that has bubbled up to the surface that may need to go into the fountain so that they can strip themselves and remove it so that they don't feel locked into some thought processes that hurt? Lorraine, do you have any? Kim?
Yeah, this conversation brought up, I know you don't have time for details, but all the times I've dishonored myself by thinking I should be some other way. And that, like all of us, we're unique snowflakes and we can just be how we are. So I want to take that to the fountain.
There we go. All right, hun. I'm gonna go ahead and everybody, I just want you all wherever you're at, no matter what's going on around you, whatever it is, I want you just to lay that all down right now and bring yourself back to just you. Be observant to yourself. What color is your shirt? Is the wind blowing or is it still? How do you actually feel at this present moment? I want you to just take that and come in within. And accept yourself right as you are, who you are, because you're whole and complete in this very moment. And then I want you to go ahead and imagine that you're at the front gates of the garden. And as you are entering into the garden, you can see all the different lush greenery everywhere, the flowers of all types to your own personal desires, and the trees that are grown up so tall and beautiful. But in the center, you see the fountain. I want you to go ahead and rush to that fountain and step up, and into the swirling of water effects down in the bottom of the basin of the fountain. And I want you to walk forward and into the overflowing water cascading down over the top of you. And as it's coming down over the top of your head and your body, and this white light cascading down with this water effect coming down, I want you to go ahead and open that crown chakra. Allow this water to come in. Rushing, rushing, rushing down, down, down into your third eye. And as it's going into the third eye, I wanted to go ahead and illuminate all the stuff that's going on within your mind, the story, all the different storylines, all the situations and circumstances that brought you through to where you are right this minute. Anything that is no longer serving you on these stories, I want you to go ahead and circle it up and bring it into the ball of light that is circling inside the third eye. Pulling and pulling and pulling all of these vibrational storylines out so that only those things that serve your highest good can remain. Bringing this down and dropping it into the throat, gathering up the storylines that you've spoken so that you can be cleansed of them and removed from those things that are no longer serving you. Bringing that down into the shoulders, down your arms, into your fingertips, and up into your heart. As the water is pouring through your heart, if there's anything that's calloused, hardened, any effects from life that have caused you to feel weighted down in your heart, I want you to go ahead and allow that water to burst through it and cleanse it and heal it and restore it to what is rightfully yours from the foundations of the earth, down into the solar plex, into the sacral, into the root of your very being. Allow it to gather up all the stories from head to toe, washing through, down into the thighs, into the calves, into the feet. And I want you to take this light and this water and this story, and I want you to press it down into the earth as far away from you as possible, down into the center of Mother Gaia, leaving that to lay rest as we do with the dead. Bring back just the light and the waters. Bring it into your feet, to your calves, into your thighs, into the root. This time we're going to bring that straight up the back in our spinal column and across our shoulder back, opening up the heart in the back so that we can begin to receive what's rightfully ours. Bring that back up all the way up into the shoulders, up into the brainstem, and up to our frontal lobe. Bringing this and illuminating to us that we are free. And yes, we're free indeed. And go ahead and release that back up into the heavenlies. And be thankful. And when you're ready, go ahead and open up your eyes. And I know that it is 12 o'clock and there are others who need to go off to other classes. Matthew, can you shoot me a link to Wolfgang's breathwork? Because I need that today. Thank you so much. I'll be there in a few minutes. Let him know I'm on my way. He'll be happy. That is the end of class. Does anybody have anything they want to share?
Just thank you so much, Darla. Thank you as always. Great to be together, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome, Shanna. Thank you,
You're
Kim. You're welcome. We all good? Okay, well, I'm gonna head off. I do have another class that I want to go to and attend today. Catherine, Lorraine, Steph, Kim, if any of you all need me today, just message me and I'll arrange a time if we need to talk, okay? Love y'all.
Much love. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye for now.
Have a great day.
Right, Lorraine did. All right.